Hello, welcome to part 3, Foundations of Blood. The planting of the seed of Satan into the veins of humanity. I'll say it again. The planting of the seed of Satan into the veins of humanity. You haven't heard part 1 and 2, please go back and listen, because each series has information that comes down the pipe. And to understand this one better, you need to hear 1 and 2. So we're going to begin back again with the horrible practice of colonialism and slavery and the blood of the martyrs in this country, the Negroes. Of course, we know the Indians, they stole the land from, blood in the millions of people that passed. And then we also know that Yahush's people, Yahush's people have perished, not only here in this country, but we have perished in other countries of European culture all around this earth. And we are bringing this up because, as you know, next year will be 400 years of of slavery, because we were here before 1619 as free people. So I don't know what this 1619. We were here before then, but we came on slave ships in 1619, and they want to celebrate that. And what we have we have given under duress to our captors, land of our captivity. So I wanted to give you some fodder to think about, to pray about, to see how you feel best you should go forward in any type of celebration of this kind. That's all. And whatever you and the Ruach Hakodesh lead you to do, Zaman. Okay? But I want to give you something to sober up the thought, to give you something to chew on, because this is not a time of dancing in the streets. This is not a time of parades and confetti. This isn't the time for big bands and concerts and banquets of any kind. This is a sobering time. This is a marker. Yahusha's coming. And I've chosen to wait until he does. I'll do my celebrating then. When they want me to celebrate 400 years of what I have and my ancestors have given towards the success of this culture, it is a culture that does not recognize us. And now it wants to put on this so-called celebration. What are we celebrating? We're still in the land of our captivity. We still, they say we still got a long way to go. That's an understatement. That's an understatement. I love what 400 years, it says, of Black history by Lauren Victoria Buke of NNPA Newswire contributor. It says, in late March, the Congressional Budget Office estimated that implementing the bill would cost about $2 million a year, a total of $6 million, which is very little, over 2018 to 2021 period. And it has a statement, says, in a floor statement about the bill last summer, Rep. Bobby Scott said that African Americans have contributed greatly to the United States and their achievements deserve to be celebrated. What? Our achievements deserve to be celebrated. I don't really need to celebrate my people's contribution to this land, but maybe others feel they do. I already know how valuable we are. I already know. I look around every day and see the great contributions we made. But let me tell you something. I also see that we've made it under duress. We made it by the skin of our teeth. And I'm not in the mood to celebrate at this time. It goes on to say, the history of Virginia and our nation cannot be fully understood without recognizing the role played by slave trade. What positive thing for us came out of that? Said Scott. Slavery was an abhorrent, he's got that right, institution. But, he put a but in there, for hundreds of years, it was the foundation of the colonial and early, you hear that? It was the foundation. It was the foundation of the colonial and early American agricultural system that was essential to its economic sustainability. All right, waive the fact for a minute that these are slaves, abused people, stolen people, kidnapped people, ravaged people, raped people, beaten people. Okay, let's waive all that. Because of all of that, this nation was established and its economic wealth. What do we get for it? Oh, we contributed. I get a little bit testy when I think how we can say statements and there just seems to be so, I don't know, socially correct or something. He goes on to say 400 years of African American History Commission Act will be instrumental in recognizing and highlighting the resilience and contributions of African Americans since 1619. From slavery to fighting the Civil War to working against the oppression of Jim Crow segregation to the civil rights movement of the rich history of African Americans and their contributions to our nation began hundreds of years ago, but obviously does not end there. Obviously does not end there. Well, thank you, Mr. Scott. No, it don't end there because it's still going on. Don't end there. And 400-year celebration pieced off to you that little bit of money for celebrated. 6 million for so many years, 2 million a year. All we asked for in the beginning was, after all that chaos, was a mule and some acres, 40 acres and a mule. We didn't get that. There was no back pay with interest come to us, like they want to give so many other people that they've harmed. We didn't get a dime. I don't know what there's to celebrate, to be honest with you. Maybe you can help me with that. Let us put together something we can do to celebrate what? What will we celebrate? We can celebrate that Yahusha gave us our identity. How about that? That would be something I want to celebrate. That we know now that we have an identity, that we are the true Israelites. That's something to celebrate. I've been celebrating that for a while now. But I don't need them to piecemeal me anything from me and my ancestors and what they went through. Yet, if someone feels that they need to acknowledge that, please, not me. I get abhorrent. It's vile to me. It's a bad taste. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth. You cannot pat us on the head like you used to do, rub our bellies, or put your feet on our children's stomach to keep your feet warm no more. We're not going there no more. It's over. Reminds me of my husband and I sitting in a bus terminal in Fresno, train terminal. And we were sitting there. My husband is a musician. And he's sitting there with his guitar, sitting next to him in the seat, waiting. We're in the waiting area. And these two Caucasoid, I call them Caucasoid or Caucasian people because they're not white. And I just, that white doesn't, and we're not black, so I don't like that term either. It's this color thing is just too much for me. But anyway, sit across from us and saw my husband's guitar and just assumed they could open up their mouth and ask him, could he play a tune for them? I don't know whether my husband heard them or not, but I certainly heard them. And I reached out and looked down at them and said, no, he will not play a song for you or a tune for you. And went back to to what I was doing. Those days are over. Stephen Fletcher days is over. We're not getting up tap dancing with the little curly girl, the little Shirley Temple days. Those are over. And this little bit that they want to give us in recognition of what? Pay me, pay my relatives, pay my folk for what they have put into this country. That will show appreciation. Some kind of appreciation. But it's really too late for that. Because they have to suffer. When you build something on a shaky foundation, Yahusha said, watch how you build. You build on the rock, you'll stand. You build on the sand, you'll sink every time. You'll be blown away every time when the storm rages. And the storm is beginning to rage, folk. And those who have built this nation on the blood of my ancestors will reap. And I got no time to celebrate. I got time to pray. I got time to study, to show myself approved unto Yah, a workman, not being ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, and telling my sisters and brothers who they are, and telling them to repent so that Yahusha can come and take us home. Repent. I can tell them that. And all you Gentiles who want to join us, I can say, come to the fountain. But you will not be the bride, but you will be the guests at the supper of the Lamb. Isn't that wonderful? They will still be together. Wonderful. I want to get into just a couple more things about, I think some people don't understand some of the atrocities. And really, I'm only naming a few. I would be every program talking about fatalities and genocide of the Europeans on the indigenous people. But I'll just give you a couple more things. It happened, of course, in Russia, and Siberian people. It happened in Japan with the Hokkaido people. It happened, of course, in Australia. We named that before. It happened here in this country, and on and on and on and on. And I'm going to leave that now and move on. Fountains of blood everywhere. And it's so funny. I was sitting there meditating and thinking, you know, we are the people of Yah, and we're here in Goshen right now. And spiritual Goshen, that's where we are, and natural Goshen. We're in a safe place in Yahuwah because we know whose we are. We have called upon him, and we need to call on him more. You all out there who are more invested in the law than calling on Yahusha for repentance, please check yourself on that. Because unless we're born again, the law won't save you. The law came into my heart in the presence of the Ruach HaKodesh, because the Spirit is the Spirit of Yahusha who fulfilled the law. And I fulfill the law because the law is inside of me. His name is Yahusha, the Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh. Understand that. And I'm not going to stop and study on that to give you that today. But I wanted to, something bothered me. You know, I felt like we should be prospering in spite of what they're trying to do to us. We should be growing, because one thing about Goshen, the children of Israel there were really expanding. The population was growing to the point where Pharaoh felt threatened. And I think the Pharaoh of this country, Pharaoh Trump, is feeling a little displaced along with his folk. I think he's putting on a game. I think he's playing a lot of games. Really, I do. I can't take him too seriously. However, he is the type of Pharaoh. But if you ever want to know a real Pharaoh, what he really looks like, study the president of France right now, who got elected with 66.06 of the vote. See that he wants to be a god, he wants to run the country like Jupiter, God Jupiter. Read about him. His name is Marcos, I think it is. Emmanuel, of all names, God with us. His name is Emmanuel. He has more traits of the Antichrist than I've seen in anybody in my life. And I know that this is a spirit. Emmanuel Marcos. Look him up, president of France. and read about him. Got elected with 6606. And he wants to run the country as the god Jupiter. Look him up. Man doesn't even sweat, they say. So the spirit of Antichrist is here and it's getting stronger. So like every election is getting stronger. It's strong here in the United States of America with Trump in office, and it's very strong in France, and I'm sure there's other places that we don't hear about. Or these demagogues, think they're gods and that they want to be the ones it's all about. They're narcissistic. In fact, they're very sick people, but those are the kind of people Satan loves to use. But I thought I'd look at the Goshen and we as the people of Yah. And I almost didn't want to look it up because I didn't want to be disappointed. But I had to look it up. I wanted to know, are our numbers dwindling? Because I know the Caucasoid people are diminishing in their population. This is why all the chaos. This is why all the fear. This is the running around. This is about what the legislature is about. This is what these people are afraid of. And God knows it has to happen because of what they've done, but they don't want to recognize that either. They want us to forget about it. I thought I'd look up our population numbers because I felt that if we are really and truly in Goshen and even in spiritual, we should be multiplying, right? Well, guess what? We are. Believe it or not. So here's in the New York Times. This was back in December 10th, 2006. It's called The Economic Scene. Across age groups, whites fared worse in employment rates. Can you believe that? Whites fared worse in employment rates. And this column, again, is out of the New York Times, where it says, while Hispanics, African Americans, and Asian Americans have millions more jobs now than they did at the labor market's high water mark in November 2007, before the economy turned into recession, whites actually lost 700,000 more jobs than they gained. That's interesting to me. Across the entire population, employment rate of whites has declined more sharply since the pre-recession peak than for other ethnic and racial groups, sliding to 60.1% from 63.6%. The pattern is replicated across narrow age cohorts too. Consider only people from 25 to 54 from November 2007 to November 2016. The share of whites in that prime working age bracket who held a job declined by 2%, 79.4 to 81.4. That means almost 2 million fewer whites of prime working age have jobs than if they had maintained the same employment rate 9 years ago. Latinos at work in that age group also declined. Asian Americans did lose proportionally more jobs than whites, but employment rate of African Americans in this category actually increased. Last month, 74.5% of prime age blacks held a job. 0.3% points more than November 2007. The pattern actually looks worse for whites in the decade preceding retirement. The employment rate of whites from ages 55 to 64 declined slightly, 63.6 to 64.1. Another, I don't think I brought it with me, another statistic that I thought I had brought with me shows an increase in our population. I was hoping I had brought that, but if not, that's okay. I can tell you, you can look it up on the computer. We are actually increasing in our numbers here in Goshen. And how do I know that? You can go on your computer and look it up. It's one of the things I believe that is happening is we're starting to get an understanding, and I don't think they're going to tell you too often, but I mean to give you. But I know statistics are going down in abortion and among blacks. I also know they're not getting pregnant as much as they used to. I know that. And they're not telling you. Uh, you have to be careful with the news media. If they're not saying anything, it's something good going on in our community, okay? Because they're only going to bring out the worst. So if you don't hear something, you just know something great is happening with us. Uh, we have a lot of influx now, our population numbers, and you can look it up. I'm sorry I didn't bring that sheet with me. I wanted to share that with you. But anyway, we can look and see a lot of our Caribbean brothers and sisters are moving here. A lot of our African brothers and sisters, and many of them are Hebrews, are coming to the United States of America. And they're actually swelling our own numbers. And we ourselves are also growing. So when I saw that, I got so excited. I said, wow, that's exactly what happened in the land of Goshen in the book of Genesis. How we began to prosper. Now we can see we have jobs. We're getting jobs now. We can see that our population is getting larger and theirs is decreasing. It's a sign. It's a sign that Yah is waking up his people. That's what the sign is about. And he is taking care of his own. He's given us entrepreneurs. He's given us entrepreneurs how to succeed. He's given us that. How to enlarge our coffers so we can help our own people. Not this stuff the world gives you, play by their rules and be famous and don't help your own people. Every movie star, every politician, everybody that's some so-called somebody, which we know the way some people look at it, sports figures. Why aren't they waking up? When you sell your soul to the devil, you can get out of the contract if you go to Yahusha, They don't say anything about Hebrews. They don't say, very few. And they don't say anything about the waking up of the Israelites. They don't say too much about that. They don't say the cruelty that's going on in this country against our young people, being murdered in the streets by police officers. Where are they at? You're paying all this money to go see them in the movies. You're paying all this money to go to their concerts. You're paying all this money to go see them play ball. Why don't they say something? Because they can't. When you sell your soul, when you're making that dollar, you bow to the dollar. You bow to those who got the dollar. Come out from among them. I want to say to every one that hears my voice, that cares about yourself and your people and your God, Yah, wake up. The time is here. Because if you live with them, if you participate in the things that this world is doing, you're going to die with them. And you Gentiles out there, you listen. You can be saved. Make no doubt about it. But you have to come to the Hebrews and understand that we are Yah's people and humble yourself. Can't have the superiority stuff going on no more. This Christianity is a bust. It's a bust. Come out from among them. They still feel they're better than you, these so-called white Christians, Caucasoid Christians. And it's a very sad situation. They really think that they can go to heaven being prejudiced. They can really think that they're going to look at the Messiah and his people and say, well, I know I'm better. I was created better than them. Look at what I've got. Look what I've amassed. That's what they're going to say. He's going to say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. He's going to say, I never knew you. That's what's going to happen. And the bad seed, as we started off with earlier, that was planted among the good seed, it's going to be rooted out first. You can see it everywhere. Little be known, there's a lot of fear among Europeans, this country and around the earth, because they know they're on their final mark. I pray many of them will get their heart and give it to Yahusha. But that will be very few. I pray you wake up, saints. I pray you wake up, Hebrews. I pray you wake up, people of Yisrael. Yahusha's coming. That's what we need to celebrate. What can man give us to celebrate? We celebrate every day. We celebrate our salvation. We celebrate our Yah. We celebrate our Messiah, Yahusha. I don't need a government handout to celebrate who I am and what my ancestors have done to build this country. But remember, they built it not only on their ideas and their entrepreneurship, their technology. They built it mainly on their blood. Don't you forget that. What can you give for martyrdom? What can you give for blood? It cries out. It must be answered. And you must come down. It's too late for trinkets. It's too late, saints. It's too late, world. It's too late. Let's get ready to get out of here. Let's live each day for Yahusha and look for his coming. And let this world celebrate the way it wants to. We know better. And we will not sing our song in their land. We will sing it unto Yah. Until next time, take care. He loves you. Bye-bye.